You know that feeling like you're constantly running, always busy, but you're not entirely sure why? It's something so many of us feel. We've got this life filled with so much motion, but maybe not enough meaning. So let's dive into that. Let's try and figure out what's really going on here. I mean, this is the big question, right? We all feel that constant push. You gotta be productive, you gotta achieve, just keep moving, moving, moving. But let's be honest for a second. Do we really know why we're so busy? Have we ever actually stopped to ask, is all this necessary? Well, here's the thing. When we don't ask why, we pretty much stop living consciously. We stop making choices for ourselves. And what happens? Our lives just become automated. We end up living like robots, just running on this pre-written code of what society expects, our old habits, our daily routines. And we never, ever stop to question the program itself. So what does this automated life actually look like? Well, the obvious one is, chasing money and power. It's what we see everyone else doing, so we do it too. But there's a much more subtle sign, like eating when you're not even hungry. Think about it. Your body isn't asking for fuel, but your tongue sees something that looks good, your eyes see a flashy ad, and boom, you're eating. It's just an automated response, totally disconnected from what you actually need. And that, right there, is unconscious living in a nutshell. And this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. It says, we've basically flipped our priorities completely upside down. The whole point is supposed to be living with passion and purpose, with devotion, and work should just be a part of that. But what do? We work like robots, and devotion, well, that becomes an afterthought, something we try to squeeze in if we can find a spare minute. So this whole automated life thing, it doesn't just happen by accident. There's a real root cause. And that brings us to the core idea we're going to explore, this thing called the unasked question, and, why we're so quick to just follow the herd without a second thought. And there it is. That's the core of the problem. The reason we follow the herd, the reason we run on autopilot, the reason we live like robots, it's because we've stopped asking the most important questions we should be asking ourselves. We don't question why we want what we want, or if the path we're on is even the right one. We just go. Okay, so the source for all this shared a perfect real-world story that shows just how powerful this tendency is. It's so simple, just an observation at a traffic light, but it reveals something absolutely profound about us. So picture this. One guy on a bike stops way, way before the actual traffic light. And what happens? Immediately, a whole line of other bikes stop right behind him. They all just assume, oh, this guy must know something we don't. Then the first driver inches forward a little bit, and the entire herd, they all follow, inch by inch. Not a single person questions it. They just follow. It's such a perfect example of how easily we just hand over our thinking to someone else. All right, so if the problem is that we've stopped asking questions, then the solution has to start with asking the right ones. And maybe the first question should be, what are we actually chasing here? We all say we want happiness, but is that really what we're going after?
This is one of the biggest mix-ups we all make. You know the script. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I finally buy that house. I'll be happy when I win. But here's the twist. According to this philosophy, that feeling you get after you achieve something, that's not happiness. That's pleasure. And trust me, they are two very, very different things.
So let's break it down. Pleasure, that's external. It's temporary. It's basically a chemical hit in your brain when you get something you want. It's a spike, and then it's gone. But happiness? Oh, happiness is something else entirely. It's an internal state of being. It's constant. It's like a deep, calm ocean that's always there, even when the surface is stormy with sadness or challenges. It's not about yelling and cheering all the time. It's this deep, unshakable sense of okayness. Okay, so that's the goal, right? How do we stop chasing those temporary pleasure spikes and start building this real, lasting happiness? Well, the source suggests it's an art, a practice, and it's built on three main ideas. Here are the three keys. First up is swadhyay, which is basically self-study. It's all about turning inward and finally asking those tough questions. Second, we've got satsangat. This just means surrounding yourself with good company, people who are also on this path and inspire you. And third is hush, or what we often call mindfulness, that super simple but powerful act of just being present and aware. And that's really where it all begins, with mindfulness. Think about your mind like a glass of muddy water. As long as you're shaking it up, running around, constantly thinking, you can't see a thing. It's just chaos. So the first step isn't to do more. It's to stop, to be still, and just let the mud settle all the way to the bottom. Because only then, when the water finally becomes clear, can you actually see what's real. Only then can you start to separate the truth from all that noise. And once that mud starts to settle, this path of asking questions, it eventually leads us to the biggest ones of all, the questions about life and death themselves. And believe me, the perspective shift we're about to talk about, it's a big one. So here's a really challenging thought. We spend so much of our lives searching for the meaning of life, right? But what if that whole search is based on a faulty idea? What if the real question isn't what's the meaning of life, but why do I feel like it needs to have a meaning at all? The idea here is that deep down, we're just scared of the alternative. The thought of a life without some grand, assigned purpose can feel like staring into a big, empty void. And that emptiness can be terrifying. So what do? Our ego steps in to protect us. It creates a meaning, it creates a purpose, it writes a whole story for us to believe in. We basically invent a destination because we're just too afraid of a journey that doesn't have a map. And this same perspective completely transforms how we look at death. See, we fear it because we think it's the end, a full stop. But what if it's not? Think about a piece of paper. If you burn it, where did it go? It didn't just vanish into nothing. It transformed. It became ash and smoke and heat. It just changed its form. And the idea is that death is the same way. It's not an endpoint, but a transition, a transformation of energy from one state into another. So in the end, this whole philosophy, it all comes back to one simple but incredibly powerful action. This isn't about having all the answers, not at all. It's about having the courage to just ask the questions. So the journey out of that automated life and into a conscious one, it starts right now. And it starts with this. What's the one question you're going to ask yourself today?